Welcome back, Coinology. The camera fades in slowly, the frame still dark, as a soft warm glow begins to reveal a single copper-colored coin resting gently on a black velvet surface. The narrator's voice rises, calm and steady, almost like the opening line of a legend that has never been fully told.
The audience leans forward, because today is not just another numismatic story.
Today is the story of a small, ordinary-looking 1-cent piece that came from one of the most familiar mints in American history, yet carries with it a mystery, a legend, and a value that stretches the imagination to a place where history, rarity, and chance meet. The 1988 D Lincoln cent, a coin that most people have held casually in their hands without a second thought, becomes the center of a breathtaking journey into the world of minting, collecting, error hunting, and high-stakes valuation where numbers go beyond logic and into myth.
This is not just a penny.
In this story, it transforms into an artifact whispered to have reached a market value of $75 million, a number so huge that it challenges the boundaries of belief, yet fuels the passion of collectors who dedicate their lives searching for one perfect strike, one hidden anomaly, one impossible treasure that changes everything. The narration continues as the camera slowly zooms in on the coin,
gliding over the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln.
The tiny ridges of his profile catch the soft light as the story unfolds, reminding the viewer that this face, printed on billions of coins over generations, has seen countless revisions, minting improvements, design changes, and metallurgical shifts. And yet, for the 1988 D cent, there is a deeper tale behind those quiet copper surfaces. The weight of the coin, at 2.5 grams, created from copper-plated zinc, becomes far more than a specification. It becomes part of a code, part of an identity. It's the weight of a moment in American minting history, a year where the Denver Mint pushed out hundreds of millions of coins, never knowing that among them, one particular piece, just one, would someday be whispered about among collectors like a legend of buried gold. The script brings the audience further into the world of the coin. The narrator describes how the mint mark D, located just beneath the date 1988, stands for the legendary Denver Mint. That small letter, almost invisible to casual eyes, links the coin to a facility that has existed since the late 1800s, producing billions of denominations through war, depression, economic expansion, and modernization. The 1988 D cent was part of a long-running series, and yet, its story refuses to fit neatly into the mass-produced routine of everyday currency. In the dim glow of the scene, the narrator speaks of how many collectors overlook the details, the sharpness of the lettering, the alignment of the rim, the depth of the strike, the precise features of Lincoln's eye, beard, jawline, and coat. But for a coin like this, every microscopic detail has become vital. Every contour may hold a clue to what elevates a mundane cent to legendary status. The camera pans across the reverse of the coin, showing the majestic Lincoln Memorial, its architectural pillars standing tall in miniature form. The narrator's voice deepens, explaining how the reverse symbolism of the Lincoln cent, introduced in 1959, represented America's commitment to honoring leadership, unity, and legacy. Designed by Frank Gasparo, the memorial stands not only as a physical monument in Washington, but also as a numismatic symbol recognized across generations.
And yet, hidden in this familiar design are secrets, subtle anomalies, microscopic markers that experts spend years deciphering.
For the 1988 D penny, collectors whisper about the possibility of transitional errors, hidden die varieties, mismatched reverses, and strange minting anomalies that might have occurred during rushed production runs. Some believe the coin may have been struck with a leftover 1989 die. Others believe it carries a pattern reverse accidentally placed in early 1988 or a die alignment anomaly that slipped through unnoticed. Still others claim the coin is linked to a rare experimental strike used briefly during a metallurgical test. The script continues, weaving tension and curiosity. The narrator takes the viewer through the deep world of coin weight and composition analysis. The 1988 D penny, officially 2.5 grams in copper-plated zinc, rarely deviates unless an unusual minting event occurred, such as a planchet error, wrong metal strike, off metal strike, or an unrecorded transitional composition. The narrator describes collectors using precision scales, magnification devices, fluorescence testing, and metal detection tools to uncover secrets buried in the coin's physical structure.
A penny slightly heavier or lighter could suggest a wrong planchet. A coin with unusual plating textures might indicate a rare test strike. Tiny variations on the reverse pillars or the designer initials FG could point to varieties that remain unknown to mainstream publications. As the narration grows more intense, the legend of the hypothetical $75 million valuation emerges. The narrator explains how in the vast world of numismatics, extreme values are rarely assigned unless a coin possesses an unrepeatable combination of rarity, historical significance, perfect condition, and irreplaceable identity. And in the case of the legendary 1988 D cent, the myth revolves around a supposed discovery, a coin pulled from circulation decades ago, preserved in unmatched condition, and allegedly exhibiting a unique die pattern never seen again. A coin that was said to be struck using a transitional reverse intended for the following year. A coin with razor-sharp fields, mirror-like surfaces, and almost divine precision.
The audience is immersed into a world where collectors chase the impossible, where rumors circulate about private auctions, where millionaires compete quietly behind closed doors, and where one coin, one single cent, becomes the center of a price war unlike anything the hobby has ever seen. As the script continues, the audience becomes enveloped in a flowing, cinematic monologue describing how the 1988 D penny, despite being minted by the hundreds of millions, remains a coin full of possibilities. The narrator explores American minting history, connecting the events of 1988 with broader economic and technological transitions. This was a year of advancement, improvements in press technology, evolving die creation methods, and changes in metal sourcing. Each of these variables could have led to anomalies or unexpected results during mass production. Scenes fade across archives of the Denver Mint, showing machinery, old footage, and the bustling energy of coin production. The narrator explains the precision required, the pressures and the speed under which billions of coins were manufactured. In such environments, anomalies can arise, rare, fleeting mistakes that last only one press cycle but produce something truly irreplaceable. And if even one of those anomalies slipped through unnoticed and made its way into circulation, it would become the kind of treasure hunters dream of, hidden in plain sight, buried in pockets and drawers, waiting to be discovered. The narration deepens, painting an emotional picture of collectors dedicating years of their lives to searching for such a coin. They sift through rolls, boxes, old banks, estate collections, forgotten jars, and dusty drawers. They look for that one coin that defies logic. That one 1988 D cent that carries the spark of rarity powerful enough to ignite a bidding frenzy worth tens of millions. The story explores the psychology of collecting, the joy of the hunt, the thrill of discovery, the heartbreak of near misses, and the community of enthusiasts who share the same burning passion. The narrator closes part 1 with a slow, powerful description of how a simple cent can carry the weight of history, the energy of myth, and the value of dreams. The coin lies still under the spotlight as the camera slowly zooms out, and the narrator's voice softens, promising that deeper layers of the story, the hidden varieties, the rumored error, the mysterious $75 million sale, will be revealed step by step, drawing the viewer deeper into the legend of the 1988 D Lincoln cent. As we continue this deep and endlessly fascinating journey into the world of the 1988 D Lincoln cent, imagine the camera slowly pulling in close on the face of the coin, zooming in until every detail becomes a world of its own. The surface of the coin, worn by time or preserved in brilliant condition, becomes the landscape of an entire story, a miniature universe of metal and history. To most people, a penny is just a penny, a single cent with no importance, but when you step inside the mindset of a serious collector, that tiny circle of metal becomes as meaningful as a relic of ancient civilization. And the 1988 D penny, especially the one that carries the rare transitional reverse or perfect mint luster, becomes something almost mythical, a small object that has absorbed decades of stories, rumors, theories, and dreams of impossible wealth. It is at this point in the video, as the narration continues, that the viewer begins to grasp why this coin has captivated the imagination of so many people around the world. The Denver Mint in 1988 was a place of intense production, where billions of coins were being struck to meet the demands of a busy and growing economy. The machines were running at high speed, pressing blank planchets into finished cents with incredible force, striking them with dies that needed to be perfect, aligned, polished, and maintained. But the process of minting billions of coins is complex, and no matter how sophisticated the equipment is, human factors, timing, scheduling, and oversight all play roles that can lead to unexpected outcomes. In 1988, the Mint was transitioning the design hub used for the reverse of the Lincoln cent, and during this process, a small number of dies were mistakenly created using the wrong hub. That simple oversight, occurring in a brief moment amidst the thousands of tasks performed daily at the Mint, would create one of the most valuable and sought-after varieties of modern coinage. Collectors describe the transitional reverse with an almost reverent tone. They speak of the sharpness of the memorial steps, the shape of the designer Frank Gasparo's FG initials, the spacing of the letters United States of America and the word 1 cent. They compare these to coins of other years, like 1989, examining every microscopic detail. It's almost poetic that such a monumental difference can exist in a detail as tiny as the initials FG, which are so small that most people never even notice them at all. But for collectors, the initials are like a secret symbol, a fingerprint that reveals the coin's true identity. On the transitional reverse variety, the FG is shaped differently, angled differently, carved with slightly altered characteristics that tell observant eyes that the reverse was not meant for 1988 at all. And whenever someone finds a coin like this, even in circulated condition, their heart races with excitement. But beyond the physical details of the coin, the story behind it becomes a tale of mystery and speculation. Some collectors believe that the transitional reverse variety was more than an accident. Some say it was a rushed decision to keep production moving quickly while waiting for the new dies to be finalized, while others insist that the die mixture happened because the Mint was experimenting with new designs earlier than publicly acknowledged. These theories, whether true or not, add another layer of fascination to the story. People love mysteries. They love secrets. And when a coin holds even a hint of secrecy,
it becomes something far larger than a monetary object. It becomes a symbol of discovery, of hidden history waiting to be uncovered. Throughout the decades, coin enthusiasts have shared stories of incredible finds, like the person who pulled a transitional 1988 penny from a jar of old change collected from around the house, or the young collector who spotted one at a flea market among a pile of dirty coins being sold for almost nothing. These stories travel across YouTube, TikTok, collector forums, Facebook groups, and auction platforms. People analyze the photos, debating whether the coin is real or not, whether it has the right FG, the correct memorial design, the appropriate markers. And with each new story, the legend grows. Viewers love to imagine that they too could find $1 million penny in their own pocket change, and the possibility of that, no matter how slim, is enough to inspire people to dig through jars of coins night after night. And then there is the weight of the coin. A standard 1988 penny weighs around 2.5 grams because it is made from copper-plated zinc. Before 1982, pennies were made of 95% copper and weighed 3.11 grams. But that transition left behind occasional stories about leftover copper planchets being used mistakenly in later years, leading to off-metal errors that could bring astronomical prices at auction. Whenever a collector weighs their 1988 coin and sees the scale flash anything above 2.5 grams, even 2.9 or 3.0, excitement floods their mind. Perhaps this coin is a leftover copper planchet error. Perhaps it is an experimental piece. Perhaps it is the kind of mistake that could change their life. Most of the time, such hopes are just dreams, but dreams are powerful. They keep people searching, and searching keeps the legend alive. This is where the whispers of a $75 million private sale come into play. No one knows the truth behind the rumor. Was it a misinterpreted report, a fabricated story, or an exaggerated tale that grew over time? Did a collector with unimaginable wealth offer that price for a perfect specimen? Or was it simply a myth that spiraled into folklore? Regardless of its origins, the number became attached to the 1988 penny in a way that no amount of fact-checking will ever erase. And part of the coin's allure is that so few people truly understand its varieties. That lack of widespread understanding creates fertile ground for rumors and hype, making the coin a topic of endless fascination and speculation across the internet. Collectors discuss the 1988 transitional reverse with the same energy and passion that others discuss art, antiques, or rare artifacts. They debate the rarity, they argue over population reports from grading companies, they speculate about coins that may exist but have never been graded. Some believe that there are ultra-high-grade examples still sitting undiscovered in mint-sealed sets, waiting for someone to release them into the collector world. Others think that the rarest forms might have been accidentally destroyed long ago, crushed during mint cleanup or discarded as unremarkable mint waste. These theories keep the conversation alive, flowing, evolving, and the price of the coin, especially in the public market, varies depending on grade. A circulated transitional reverse might be worth hundreds or thousands, while a mint-state gem could be worth tens of thousands. But the real market exists in the shadows, private collectors making private offers. And whenever a rumor surfaces about a high-value private sale, everyone's imagination ignites with possibilities. What if someone out there really did pay tens of millions for the most pristine example? What if one day a record-breaking sale publicly confirms it? That sense of maybe is what fuels the search. It's also fascinating how many 1988 pennies still exist in circulation. Billions were struck, and many are still out there being passed from hand to hand without awareness of their potential value. Every time someone receives change from a store, buys something small, or checks a coin jar, they unknowingly come close to possibly touching a valuable piece of numismatic history. And every now and then, someone actually does find something remarkable. Their stories become viral videos, their photos become viral posts, and suddenly millions of people begin checking their coins again. That cycle repeats, over and over, making the 1988 one of the most talked about pennies of the late modern era, and it is at this point in the narrative that you can begin to sense the deeper emotional side of collecting. It's not just about money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the sense of connection to history, the beauty of small details often ignored by the world. When people talk about their favorite finds, they talk about holding something that has traveled through time, something struck before they were born, something that survived decades of handling and circulation. A 1988 penny, even a common one, has lived through countless human stories. It has passed through supermarkets, vending machines, restaurants, banks, pockets, hands, and drawers. It carries invisible fingerprints of the past. And if it happens to be one of the rare varieties, then the journey of that coin becomes even more incredible. As the story of the 1988 Lincoln cent continues to unfold, the deeper we go, the more the coin transforms from a simple everyday object into a symbol of hidden potential and unbelievable possibility. When you think about the fact that billions of these coins were minted, each one pressed rapidly, flawlessly, and methodically under the enormous pressure of the coining presses, it becomes almost incomprehensible that among such an overwhelming ocean of mass production, a tiny handful could become legends. Yet that's exactly what happened, and that's where the beauty of this coin's journey truly lies.
It is the miracle of rarity emerging from abundance, the idea that within billions of identical objects, a microscopic difference can change everything. Imagine a collector sitting at a desk under a bright lamp, slowly spreading out dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands of 1988 pennies across the table. The soft clink of the coins touching each other becomes a rhythmic soundtrack, a kind of meditative sound that fills the room. The collector examines each one with intense focus, holding them between their fingertips, rotating them under the light, watching how the reflection slides across the surface. They look for the tiniest clues, knowing that one coin out of thousands might hold the transitional reverse, might display the exact combination of features that sets it apart from all the rest. And the strange thing is, the moment they find something unusual, something even slightly different from the others, their heartbeat instantly changes, their breath becomes still. That instant is what makes coin collecting so addictive, the possibility of finding something extraordinary. The transitional reverse variety of the 1988 penny has become almost like a treasure map for collectors. With so many coins produced and so few bearing the rare reverse design, every collector knows that the odds are tiny. Yet the possibility remains, and possibility is all that's needed to fuel a search that can last days, weeks, months, and for some people, their entire lives. Every time a lucky individual posts a photo online showing their discovery, thousands more are inspired to start searching again. The coin becomes a catalyst for hope. And hope, when mixed with the thrill of discovery, becomes a powerful force. Part of what makes the 1988 penny so fascinating is the dual mystery surrounding both its physical design and its historical background. The tiny FG initials placed by Frank Gasparo on the reverse of the coin become a focal point of endless discussion. On one type of reverse, the initials look one way; on the transitional reverse, they look different. Collectors trace the lines, the curves, the thickness of the letters, the spacing from the base of the memorial, and even the angle at which the initials sit. To the untrained eye, these differences seem meaningless, like invisible secrets hidden in plain sight. But to collectors, these initials are the key to unlocking the identity of the coin, and it's not only the initials. The architecture of the memorial itself tells the story. Some collectors look closely at the staircases, noting whether the steps are sharply defined or appear slightly different from the standard. Others examine the roofline, the shape of the columns, the thickness of the lettering above. These details are so small that they often require magnification, sometimes even a digital microscope. But that's part of the thrill, the idea that you could be holding a coin worth thousands or more, and the only thing separating it from a common penny is something so tiny it's almost invisible. Some collectors like to imagine the moment the transitional reverse die was used at the mint. Perhaps it was during a busy shift change, or maybe someone grabbed the wrong die from a storage rack without noticing. Maybe the mint was rushing to meet production quotas, and in the frenzy of keeping up with demand, someone simply overlooked a mismatch. Or maybe it was a perfectly ordinary moment, a quiet afternoon in the mint, where one employee made a small error that would remain unnoticed for decades. That moment, quiet or chaotic, led to the creation of one of the rarest modern varieties, and the story of that moment is now etched into every surviving example. There is another layer to the story that few people consider: the lives of the people who struck the coins. Mint workers in the 1980s were not thinking about collectors or rarity or transitional errors. They were simply doing their job, ensuring that billions of coins were produced efficiently and accurately. And yet, the decisions made by those workers, intentional or not, contributed to the creation of a coin that would one day mesmerize the entire collector world. The actions of people who never entered the hobby have shaped the excitement of those who live for it now. As the value of rare coins becomes more understood by the public, the 1988 penny has begun to rise in popularity on social media and online marketplaces. People who never cared about coins before are suddenly interested in their pocket change. Some post videos showing how they sort through piles of pennies, hoping to find something special. Others ask for help identifying the transitional reverse, showing close-up images taken with phone cameras. The collector community has grown more active than ever, and the 1988 penny sits at the center of many of these discussions. The myth of the $75 million value has magnified the coin's fame to an even greater degree. Whether or not such a sale ever occurred is secondary to the excitement the rumor generates. The idea that a single small coin, something so ordinary looking, could secretly hold a value greater than houses, cars, or even entire businesses, pushes people to dream. Dreamers check their pockets. They check their drawers. They check old jars filled with coins gathered over decades. They check every 1988 they can find, because the possibility of an extraordinary discovery is intoxicating. This phenomenon, where ordinary people become part-time treasure hunters, has sparked a new generation of collectors. Many of them begin with the 1988 penny. They begin with curiosity, then excitement, then passion. Before long, they learn how to grade coins, how to recognize mint errors, how to study die varieties. The coin becomes a teacher. It introduces people to a world they never knew existed. It becomes the gateway to understanding the history of minting, the art of engraving, and the extraordinary care required to create something as seemingly simple as a cent. But beyond the beginners, there are the seasoned collectors, the ones who have spent years studying Lincoln cents, memorizing minting patterns, building collections that span decades.
For them, the 1988D transitional reverse represents not just a variety but a challenge. It is the kind of coin that tests their expertise. It rewards the most patient, the most observant, the most dedicated. And even experienced collectors can spend years searching for the perfect example. The emotional significance of the coin extends even further. Many collectors have personal stories connected to their finds. Some say they discovered their rare 1988D at a moment in life when they needed hope the most. Others remember how they searched through coins with parents or grandparents, creating memories that last forever. A simple penny can carry emotional weight far beyond its physical value. It becomes a symbol of perseverance, luck, family, history, and the beauty of small miracles, and that emotional connection becomes even stronger whenever someone actually finds a rare variety. The feeling is indescribable: shock, disbelief, joy, adrenaline, amazement. All from a coin worth 1 cent. It's the kind of emotional moment people replay in their minds forever. For some, it becomes the beginning of a lifelong passion. For others, it becomes one of the best stories they will ever tell. When you hold an ordinary 1988D penny, you hold something printed by the billions. But when you hold the rare variety, you hold something that could rewrite your destiny. That contrast between common and rare, between ordinary and extraordinary, is what makes the story of this coin endlessly compelling. The deeper we go into the story of the 1988D Lincoln cent, the more this small copper-plated coin reveals layers of history, mystery, excitement, and almost cinematic drama that make it one of the most talked about modern pennies in the entire world of numismatics. Picture the scene as we continue. The camera moves slowly across a table filled with 1988D pennies, each one reflecting the warm glow of the light overhead. Some coins shine with perfect brilliance, untouched by circulation, while others carry scratches, dents, and marks from decades of use, scars that represent thousands of transactions in the hands of countless people. Each coin has lived its own story. Each one has traveled through time. And yet, among all these coins, even the most worn-down penny could secretly be the one that collectors hunt for, the one with the elusive transitional reverse, the one with a hidden value far beyond what the world expects. As we journey even deeper into the heart of the coin's mystique, it becomes clear that the story of the 1988D penny is not just about metal, it is about a phenomenon. It is about what happens when rarity intersects with curiosity, when history intersects with legend, and when a coin meant for everyday use becomes the centerpiece of countless conversations, online debates, collector forums, and viral videos. People who never cared about coins suddenly find themselves captivated by the idea that a 1-cent coin weighing just 2.5 grams could be worth more than luxury cars, more than mansions, more than entire companies. The possibility alone transforms a simple penny into a symbol of wonder. Collectors often talk about how exciting it is to hold a small piece of history, but with the 1988D penny, that excitement grows even stronger because the year 1988 occupies a unique place in coinage history. It sits right between two important design eras. Before 1988, the mint was still using older hub designs. After 1989, entirely new hubs took over. But in 1988, that crucial year, something unusual happened. The mint's transition caused a handful of coins to be struck with the wrong reverse. Like a bridge between two worlds, this transitional reverse variety exists in a liminal space, a moment in time where old and new collided, and it wasn't intentional. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a special edition or a commemorative release. It was a mistake. A tiny, accidental, almost invisible mistake that no one at the time ever imagined would create one of the most coveted varieties in modern coinage. This unpredictability adds another layer of allure to the coin. People love accidents that turn into miracles. They love stories of something unintended becoming incredibly valuable. The entire concept feels like finding a rare painting behind a wall, a priceless document tucked inside an old book, or a treasure chest buried under decades of dust. When collectors discuss the 1988D penny, they often talk about the psychology behind searching for coins. Something changes in a person when they begin to understand that the smallest everyday object might hold unimaginable worth. The human brain becomes alert, attentive, hyper-focused. Suddenly, every penny matters. Every detail matters. The weight, the shine, the alignment of the mint mark, the shape of the FG initials, all these things, once meaningless, become clues in a treasure hunt. This psychological transformation is part of why the 1988D penny remains in the spotlight year after year. It unlocks curiosity. It invites ordinary people into a world of discovery that usually belongs only to historians, collectors, and scholars. There is also the emotional thrill of knowing that a coin struck more than 35 years ago can still ignite excitement today. Many of the 1988D cents that contain rare features may have been sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, kitchen cabinets, piggy banks, and coat pockets for decades before someone finally realized what they were. Imagine the moment a person pulls out a penny they received in change and notices something unusual about the reverse design. Imagine them rushing to a magnifier, their hands trembling slightly as they bring the coin under the lens. Imagine the sharp intake of breath the moment they realize they found it. Stories like these spread rapidly online.
People share videos of themselves discovering transitional reverses, off metal weights, strange errors, unusual markings. Some find coins that look as though they were struck off-center or that show doubling in the lettering. Each new discovery brings fresh waves of interest to the coin. And even when someone doesn't find the rare variety, the act of searching creates a memorable experience. For many, it becomes a ritual, something they do at night after work, something they do with family members, something that fills them with excitement even on ordinary days. But the story becomes even more fascinating when we consider the grading companies, organizations like PCGS and NGC that examine coins with scientific precision and assign grades that can dramatically affect value. A normal 1988 D penny in circulated condition is worth only face value. But a rare transitional reverse in high mint state condition? That's where the magic happens. The condition of the coin becomes a vital piece of the puzzle. A coin with a sharp strike, clean fields, and bright luster could be worth many thousands of dollars or more. Some collectors believe there are examples in uncirculated rolls or original mint sets that have yet to be discovered, sitting untouched for decades. This idea that somewhere out there, hidden in an attic, basement, or storage box, lies a pristine example worth a fortune fuels the imagination of collectors across the globe. And then, adding fuel to the fire, the whispers of a $75 million private sale turn the story into something almost legendary. Even if no one can confirm the sale, the rumor carries an electrifying energy, a mythic quality that pushes people to keep searching. In the world of collectibles, legends matter. They amplify excitement. They create iconography around the object. They keep the story alive. The coin's rarity also brings attention to the Denver Mint itself, its history, its role in American coinage, and the millions of people who have worked there over the decades. The Denver Mint is known for high production volume, and in 1988, it was operating at full speed. The creation of a transitional reverse variety under such conditions only adds to the coin's mystique. A facility that produced billions of cents that year somehow produced a tiny number of incredibly rare pieces that slipped into circulation unnoticed. It's almost poetic, a giant machine unintentionally creating a handful of masterpieces. Collectors also marvel at how something as small as a subtle shift in the designer's initials could define the value of a coin. The FG initials, placed so tiny and so close to the bottom of the memorial building, seem like the last place anyone would look. And yet, those two letters have become the focal point of thousands of conversations. People zoom in, take screenshots, compare images side by side, analyze angles, and memorize the precise curves of the initials. In a world full of large-scale spectacles, sometimes the smallest details capture the most attention. The more you explore the world of the 1988 D penny, the clearer it becomes that this coin isn't just about money. It's about passion, history, connection, and the idea that extraordinary things can come from ordinary places. It's about the belief that a simple penny found in pocket change could be the one thing that changes everything for someone. And even for those who never find the rare variety, the chase itself becomes rewarding. The journey becomes as meaningful as the discovery. When you look at a 1988 D penny really closely, you start to see it not just as a coin, but as a relic of time. You see the craftsmanship that went into its creation. You see the tiny design choices made by engravers and mint workers. You see the decades of circulation reflected on its surface. And if you're holding the rare transitional reverse, you're holding a piece of minting history that almost happened by accident. As we continue our deep journey into the world of the 1988 D Lincoln cent, a coin that seems small, almost insignificant at first glance, yet holds within it a universe of history, craftsmanship, mystery, and value that most people walking past it on the sidewalk would never even imagine, the story turns even more fascinating, more intense, and more deeply layered than anything we've explored so far. When you hold this penny between your fingers, especially one from the Denver Mint of the year 1988, you aren't just grasping a tiny copper-plated object. You're holding time itself, frozen in metal, carrying the weight of decades and the whispers of millions of hands that could have touched it. Imagine the faint clink it made the first time it rolled out of the minting press, still warm from the force that stamped Abraham Lincoln's profile so sharply that even under magnification you can see the smallest microlines in his beard and the tiniest creases near his eye. This wasn't just a coin. This was a piece of the American economy in motion, a silent participant in countless everyday stories. And yet, in rare cases, depending on condition, rarity, unique characteristics, and collector demand, some examples can rise to mythical status where legends form, rumors spread, and claims emerge about astronomical prices that turn an ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into a treasure hunt fantasy. This is where the excitement of numismatics mingles with the mystery of a detective story. Think for a moment about how much the world changed between the moment this coin was minted in 1988 and the moment you're examining it today. In 1988, the world was breathing in a completely different era. There was no internet as we know it, no smartphones, no digital currency, no global online auctions where collectors could instantly bid from every continent. A penny in 1988 still held emotional and practical value. Kids used pennies in gumball machines, people dropped them into public fountains while making wishes, and cash registers across America chimed with the familiar rhythm of copper-tone change. And inside those millions of circulating coins, buried like a hidden spark in the dust of everyday transactions, some 1988D specimens escaped the attention of the mint inspectors, not with mistakes necessarily, but with subtle differences, sharper designs, stronger strikes, cleaner surfaces, and unusual preservation conditions that decades later would make collectors lean in closer, magnifier in hand,
pulse rising as they examined every detail: the date, the mint mark, the spacing between
letters, the alignment of the portrait, the thickness of the rim, the clarity of the memorial steps on the reverse. Imagine the coin sitting untouched inside a forgotten bankroll for 35 years.
No fingerprints. No pocket wear.
No scratches from jingling with other change. No grocery store coin counter damage. Instead, it sits there quietly, sealed away like a time capsule, waiting. When such a coin finally emerges, its luster intact, glowing like a tiny sunrise, it can trigger a sensation among collectors that transcends logic. To them, it isn't just worth a market value. It's worth the thrill, the hunt, the pride of discovery, the bragging rights, the feeling of uncovering something unbelievably pristine from a world long gone. That is why some rare coins, in the heat of collector obsession or bidding wars, can skyrocket to values that seem unreal to the average person. Stories circulate about certain pennies being listed or claimed for unbelievable prices, creating a hype that attracts even more eyes into the world of numismatics. Even when a coin's normal value is modest, the myth, the legend, the aura around a particular specimen can elevate its perceived worth into numbers that feel dreamlike. That element of magic, of mystery, is what keeps the 1988D penny forever interesting. Now imagine the surface of the coin under a microscope. The reddish-brown glow of the copper plating seems almost alive, shifting subtly as light passes over it. The fields, the flat areas around the portrait, look like tiny metallic lakes, smooth and undisturbed when preserved perfectly. The relief, the raised portrait of Lincoln, still bears the crisp edges created by the original dies. The date 1988 sits firmly in place, each number sharply defined, the symmetrical curve of the 2/8, the crisp angle on the 1, and the boldness of the final digit. Beside it, the tiny D mint mark stands like a quiet signature from the Denver Mint, indicating its birthplace among the massive machinery and roaring presses in Colorado. The reverse depicts the Lincoln Memorial with its strong architectural lines, each column representing history, structure, and national memory. Under magnification, you can sometimes see the faintest texture inside the memorial, the detailed steps, the tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial, an incredible level of detail for a coin so small that most people never even bother to look closely at it in their daily lives. But collectors look. Oh, they look closely. They study these features with intensity, searching for anything that sets one coin apart from the millions, because that one difference, however microscopic, could be the key to turning the coin from ordinary to extraordinary. The world of coins has always rewarded the sharp-eyed. Some collectors spend hours each night hunched under bright lamps, flipping pennies one by one, brushing off dust, inspecting rims for doubling, scanning letters for separation lines, analyzing the mint mark for shape differences, comparing the portrait to reference images, searching for transitional errors, hunting for that rare moment when the wrong master hub was used, or when the mint accidentally mixed designs between years. These are the kinds of details that transform a coin into a legend. Even whispers of a rare variation in the 1988D penny can cause collectors to rush to their stashes, pouring out jars full of old coins, eager to see if lightning might strike their palm. And when you begin to imagine how many hands a single penny might pass through over 3 or 4 decades, the pockets, the drawers, the sidewalks, the vending machines, you start to realize how miraculous it is when a coin from 1988 appears today in brilliant, untouched, mint-state condition. For a coin like that, collectors don't just see the metal. They see preservation. They see survival. They see rarity not in the mintage number, but in the condition itself. Over time, condition becomes scarcity, and scarcity triggers desire. And desire creates value. As we move deeper into the story of the 1988D Lincoln cent, the coin becomes more than just metal, more than just a small circular object stamped in a minting press. It becomes a symbol of how something so tiny can gather an entire lifetime of meaning simply by surviving. Think of it like this: every single coin minted in 1988 had one job: to serve the flow of the economy, silently moving from hand to hand, from cash register to denim pockets, from dusty floors to coin jars, from old piggy banks to forgotten desk drawers. But while most coins fulfilled their duty, wearing down until their edges softened and their surfaces became dull, a handful eluded this fate. They hid. They waited. They preserved themselves through luck, timing, and circumstance. And those are the coins collectors dream of, the ones that didn't get tossed, dropped, scraped, or abused. The 1988D penny that still glows with its original mint luster is like a relic from an alternate timeline, a timeline where time itself never touched it. That untouched perfection is what sends a thrill through a collector's spine, the kind of thrill that can't be explained to someone who hasn't sat for hours examining coins through a magnifier, hoping to find just one treasure among the ordinary. Think about the minting process itself, because understanding how a coin is born makes its survival even more miraculous. Inside the Denver Mint, metal blanks, called planchets, move along conveyor belts, washed, polished, and prepared for the strike. Machinery so massive and powerful that it shakes the ground forces the dies together with tons of pressure in a split second, imprinting the design onto the metal with precision. Thousands upon thousands of these coins are struck in rapid succession, each one leaving the press with that hot, freshly stamped gleam. For a moment, they're flawless. For a moment, each penny is in perfect condition. But then the chaos begins, jostling against other coins, sliding through metal chutes, clanging into bins, rattling down rollers, being scooped, bagged, boxed, shipped, dumped, handled. That perfect condition is lost almost immediately. But if one penny somehow ends up untouched, maybe it fell into a sealed mint set, or got tucked away in a coin roll that no one opened for 30 years, it becomes a time capsule. A perfect uncirculated 1988 penny is like a tiny photograph of the moment it was born, and when collectors see that perfect condition, their imagination starts to expand. They begin wondering, what if this specific coin is part of a rare production batch? What if its strike is sharper than average? What if the dies were fresh? What if the details stand out stronger than usual? What if the copper plating adhered unusually well, giving it a richer color and longer-lasting shine? And more importantly, what if this is one of the few coins left that still looks like it did the moment it rolled out of the minting chamber? That is when the collector's mind begins to blend reality with possibility, and that mix is what drives the world of high-value coin hunts, because the truth is, collectors don't just pay for the metal. They pay for rarity, for condition, for preservation, for anomalies, and for the story. And stories, especially dramatic ones, add layers of value that metal alone never could. A coin becomes a legend not because of what it is, but because of what it represents. For many, the 1988 penny symbolizes the end of an era, the last decade before digital finance took over, before cashless systems began replacing the jingle of coins, before pennies were seen as disposable instead of symbolic. This nostalgia adds fuel to the fire of interest. While the average person sees a penny, a collector sees a piece of history that cannot be recreated. Imagine this, somewhere in someone's old house, maybe in a dusty wooden drawer, an original bank-wrapped roll of 1988 pennies sits untouched. The paper wrapper is yellowed with age, the edges worn, the ink faded. No one has opened it in decades. Inside, those coins are frozen in time. They've never touched open air, never been handled, never been dropped. If that roll were opened today, each coin inside would spill out with the same brilliance they had the day they were minted. Under bright light, they would sparkle with that unmistakable mint-state fire, tiny flashes of gold-red copper reflecting from every surface. For a collector, this moment is almost spiritual. That glow is what they chase. That glow is what turns an everyday coin into a treasure, and then there's the psychological aspect, the thrill of chasing value. Stories circulate, sometimes exaggerated, sometimes misunderstood, sometimes amplified by rumors of astronomical auction prices. Someone hears that a rare 1988 sold for tens of thousands. Another hears a claim of $1 million penny. Someone else reads an article listing wild private sale numbers. The myth grows. The legend spreads. Suddenly, even people who never cared about coins begin checking their pockets, hoping their penny might be the one that breaks the pattern. This excitement, this surge of public curiosity, adds another layer of value, not monetary, but emotional. It brings people back to a time when treasure hunts felt possible. Coins like the 1988 exist at the crossroads of ordinary life and extraordinary imagination. They are reminders that even the smallest, most overlooked objects can become symbols of rarity, luck, and hidden value. Think of the millions minted, scattered across the country, lost, spent, forgotten, thrown into fountains, donated to charity jars, slipped under car seats, washed in laundry, damaged by the elements. And then think of the select few that somehow escaped all of that. Those survivors become legends not because they were chosen, but because they simply endured, and as collectors dig deeper, comparing each subtle detail, they know that one of the keys to identifying a potentially valuable variation lies in the microanatomy of the coin. They study the alignment of the date, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the memorial lines, the shape and placement of the mint mark. Some coins display slight doubling in the lettering or date, which increases interest. Others have stronger than usual strikes where the dies left exceptionally defined impressions. Some might have planchet issues or plating differences that give the coin a unique appearance. These variations become talking points, and talking points become demand, and demand becomes value. The magic lies in this combination of science, art, luck, and historical storytelling. A collector might say that finding a flawless 1988 penny feels like shaking hands with the past. It's a fragment of American life preserved by time itself. And when even one collector assigns it extraordinary value, whether $100 or $100,000 or the dreamlike $75 million figure whispered in legends, that belief alone can spark a wildfire of interest. Because value is not just determined by reality. It is also shaped by imagination, rarity, obsession, and desire. As our journey continues into the world of the 1988 D Lincoln cent, the story becomes even more layered, more expansive, stretching into the psychological realm of human fascination, obsession, and the unexpected emotional pull that such a small object can have. Because at some point, the 1988 D penny stops being just a coin. It becomes a mirror reflecting not only history but also human behavior, human dreams, human hopes of stumbling upon something rare, something valuable, something that turns the ordinary into extraordinary. This is where collectors and treasure hunters blend into one powerful wave of curiosity, all driven by the possibility that this little copper-plated disc might hold a secret that others have overlooked. Imagine a seasoned collector sitting at his desk late at night, a single bright lamp shining down on a dark velvet mat. His tools are laid out like a surgeon's instruments: loop, soft gloves, microfiber cloth, plastic flips, reference books, grading guides, and jars filled with thousands of coins. He begins examining one 1988 D penny after another, flipping each one gently between his fingers, rotating it in the light to inspect every facet. In the quiet of the room, the soft clicking of the coins echoes like a rhythmic heartbeat. He is searching for a sign that one coin among the thousands is different. And when he finally sees one that flashes with an unusual brilliance, his breath catches. That tiny flicker of excitement, that almost electric sensation pulsing through the fingertips, is one of the reasons collectors stay in this world for decades. The possibility that a coin like this could be worth far more than its face value, worth hundreds, thousands, or even the mythical millions, gives meaning to the hunt. It's not just collectors, though. Ordinary people get swept up into the thrill of possibility. They empty out old jars of coins from their childhood homes, they search through forgotten drawers, they examine pennies from spare change with new eyes. Even the idea that a 1988 D penny might be worth huge money, whether realistically or through legendary exaggeration, creates a ripple effect that spreads worldwide. Videos online, stories shared between friends, sensational claims on auction sites, it all builds an atmosphere of mystery around the coin, where value becomes a mix of fact, myth, rarity, and emotion. But let's go even deeper into the physicality of the 1988 D penny, because understanding its traits brings clarity to why it fascinates people. Hold the coin up close and run your finger lightly across the rim. The raised edge feels like a miniature wall protecting the inner fields. The thickness, about 1.52 millimeters, feels impossibly delicate given the strength of the metal. Tilt it at an angle and watch how the copper shines, shifting from bright orange to deep amber to a soft reddish glow. This play of color tells you about the life the coin has lived, whether it has been cleaned, circulated, mishandled, or preserved. Now bring your attention to Lincoln's portrait. His eye is sharp, staring ahead with calm determination. The curve of his cheek, the shape of his jawline, the detail in his hair, all of it was sculpted with precision using the master dies created decades earlier. For a coin minted in 1988, the portrait still carries the iconic artistic strength designed by Victor David Brenner more than 75 years before. The legacy of his design echoes across generations, stamped billions of times, yet every time it appears on a coin, it becomes a piece of artistic continuity. And in the case of certain 1988 D pennies, depending on how fresh the dies were, that portrait can appear unusually crisp, standing out dramatically from the metal surface like a miniature sculpture. Turn the coin over to the reverse and examine the Lincoln Memorial. Under bright light, the columns seem to glow with an architectural rhythm, a steady pattern of vertical lines framed against the coin's reflective fields. If the strike was strong when the coin was minted, you can even see the faint outline of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial, one of the tiniest details ever included on U.S. coinage. Some coins show each stair of the memorial steps clearly defined. Others have slight blurring due to worn dies or circulation damage. But the pristine examples, those almost impossibly sharp 1988 D pennies that survived untouched, look as though the memorial was carved in glass. Those coins are the ones that make collectors pause. Those are the coins that whisper of extraordinary possibility. Now imagine the journey of a single 1988 D penny through time. It starts at the Denver Mint, fresh and brilliant, sitting in a massive pile of newly struck coins. It's scooped into bags, transported across the country, maybe ending up in a small-town bank in the Midwest. A bank teller opens the bag, rolls the coins, places them in a drawer. A customer withdraws change, unknowingly taking the coin home. Maybe the coin is spent at a gas station, dropped on a counter, exchanged for candy, slipped into a child's pocket, thrown into a savings jar, or lost under a couch cushion for years. Every second of that journey chips away at its perfection, removing tiny bits of luster, adding the faintest scratches. And with every scratch, its potential high collector value decreases. This is why finding an untouched one after decades feels miraculous. Let's imagine another possibility. This particular 1988 D penny never entered circulation. Instead, it went from the mint straight into a sealed mint set or a bankroll that someone stored away for years. Maybe it sat in a military family's storage trunk as they moved from city to city. Maybe it stayed tucked in the back of a closet, forgotten. Maybe a collector bought the roll early but never opened it, intending to pass it down someday. And now, 3 or 4 decades later, someone opens it and discovers that the coins inside still look brand new. That moment, the shock, the thrill of witnessing something untouched by time is what makes the coin feel like a treasure. And here's the truth behind the emotional value: sometimes it doesn't even matter whether a coin is actually worth millions. The dream is what people chase. The dream of discovering a rare variety, a minting anomaly, a proof-like strike, a double-die error, or a coin that collectors have whispered about in online forums for years. Sometimes the excitement alone gives the coin more meaning than any price tag ever could. When someone holds a nearly perfect 1988 penny, their imagination suddenly ignites. They wonder if this is the one. They wonder if it's a rare transitional design. They wonder if the mint mark looks different, if the details appear sharper, if the coin has some hidden trait no one else noticed. And those thoughts alone create an entire universe of fascination. That is why the myth of extraordinary values, whether $10,000, $100,000, or the mythical $75 million figure, keeps circulating. It's not about cold facts. It's about possibility. And possibility is the greatest fuel for human excitement. A coin becomes valuable not only because of what it is, but because of what people believe it might be. And when enough people believe in its potential, when enough stories spread, when enough rumors circulate, the coin becomes legendary. As we move toward the final stretch of this long, winding journey through the world of the 1988 Lincoln cent, the story begins to fold back onto itself, becoming not just a tale about a single coin but a reflection on time, history, memory, discovery, and the human drive to search for meaning in the smallest of objects. Imagine the coin once more resting in your hand, not just as something you're studying under a bright light, but as a tiny force that has carried the weight of decades. In this ending chapter, the coin becomes almost symbolic, the way an old letter or a worn photograph becomes symbolic long after the moment it captures has passed. You hold the 1988 penny, feeling its familiar smooth surface, the slight coolness of the metal, the circular completeness that fits perfectly between your fingers. And you realize something profound: this coin has existed longer than some people alive today. It has lived through changes in culture, technology, politics, and society. It existed before the internet became mainstream, before smartphones existed, before digital payment apps replaced the sound of metal coins clicking in pockets. And yet here it is, unchanged. Its copper plating carries the same color it had when Ronald Reagan was leaving office and the world was stepping into a new era. It is a survivor, a witness to a world that has reshaped itself countless times. There is something almost poetic about the idea that this tiny disc, just 19 millimeters across, can hold so much meaning. It is made of zinc at the core, coated with copper, and weighs a simple 2.5 grams. But those grams carry significance far beyond their physical mass. They carry the story of Abraham Lincoln, whose portrait has been struck billions of times but never loses its symbolic power. They carry the story of the Denver Mint, where machinery larger than entire rooms stamped this very design with precision and force. They carry the story of hundreds of workers who oversaw the production, quality control, packaging, and shipment of these coins. Each penny minted in 1988 was part of a massive national effort that supported the flow of commerce across the entire United States, but beyond the facts and figures lies something deeper: the human emotion that breathes life into the world of numismatics. People don't collect coins because of their metal content. They collect them because of what they spark inside the mind. The 1988 penny sparks curiosity, nostalgia, excitement, and imagination. It whispers of hidden rarity, of the possibility that one coin in a million may hold an unusual characteristic no one else has noticed. It feeds the thrill of the treasure hunt, the joy of finding something unexpected in the most ordinary place. Think about how many stories begin with someone simply opening an old jar, checking a coin from pocket change, or buying a dusty box from a garage sale. That moment, when they find a shining Lincoln cent from 1988 that looks strangely bright for its age, becomes a spark that ignites their imagination. They take a closer look. They research. They compare. They message other collectors. They wonder if this could be the one. That spark can grow into an entire passion, transforming a simple penny into a gateway to a world filled with history and mystery. This is why stories circulate about high-value finds, record-breaking auctions, unbelievable private sales. These stories feed the imagination, even when reality is more modest. The $75 million legends, the whispers of impossible numbers, they reflect something beautiful about human nature. They show that people want to believe that even the smallest things can hold unbelievable worth. That miracles can happen. That treasure still exists in the world, waiting to be discovered, not in ancient temples or sunken ships, but in the everyday objects millions of people overlook. Sometimes, the myth becomes more powerful than the object itself. The 1988 penny becomes not just a coin but a symbol of the unexpected possibilities hiding in plain sight. It becomes a reminder that value is not always measured in dollars. Sometimes value is measured in excitement, in hope, in curiosity, in the sense of adventure that awakens when you look at something ordinary and wonder if it might be extraordinary. To I in this final reflection, let's imagine the life of the collector who finds such a coin, someone who opens their palm and sees a near-perfect, brilliant, untouched 1988 penny, glowing as if it were stamped yesterday. That person feels something that cannot be bought, something that no auction house can appraise. They feel the thrill of time collapsing. They feel the breath of history whispering through the ridges and grooves of the coin. They feel a connection to the mint worker who oversaw the machine that struck it, the designer whose artistry shaped its details, the millions of people who handled coins just like it but never stopped to look closely, and in that moment, the collector realizes something profound. The value of the coin might not lie in its market price, or in the rumors of astronomical worth. The true value may lie in the journey it inspires, the late-night research sessions, the magnifying glass examinations, the thrill of curiosity, the imagination that elevates the simplest object into something worth cherishing, because every rare coin ever discovered started as an ordinary coin. Every legendary collectible once sat unnoticed among thousands. Every treasure in history was once just another item in the background of life. What transforms a coin into a legend is not just rarity, not just condition, not just age, but the story it inspires, the journey it takes, and the meaning it holds for the person who discovers it. And so, as we close this final chapter, you look once more at the 1988 penny, and suddenly it is no longer just a coin. It is a reminder that hidden value exists everywhere. It is proof that the ordinary can become extraordinary. It is evidence that history lives in small things, that time can be held in your palm, that the world's treasures are not always buried in distant lands, they might be sitting quietly in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice them. This is the magic of the 1988 descent. This is the magic of numismatics. This is the magic of the smallest object carrying the biggest story.